Hi, I'm Kathy Quinn with Floriani. Floriani is a division of R&K Distributing, and I want to welcome you to this month's Project of the Month. We're going to create a baggage buddy to go around the handle of your luggage as you travel. First thing I want you to do is I want you to put your cursor on the Floriani icon on your desktop and double left mouse click. This will open your Floriani software. When the Floriani software opens, the first screen you're going to see is My Floriani Today. This will come up each and every time you open your software, and it will look like this if you are connected to the internet. If you are not connected to the internet, this page will have a message on it saying you're not connected to the internet, but your software will run fine. You do not need to be connected to the internet for your Floriani software to function. We do have some very nice features if you're connected to the internet on this screen. The first feature I want to point out to you is your download version. We always keep the latest versions download available on your My Floriani Today screen. But you always need to check and see if you are already running the most current version before downloading it again. You don't ever want to install it over itself. If it's a new version, of course you want to install it. So always check before you click on this bar and automatically download. We do have a couple of changes on the left-hand side. Our How to Download videos is there. Our Floriani support forum, which will take you directly to our forum. The forum is a great place for information. We have commercial and home embroiderers. We learn a whole lot from one another, and you can a lot of times look through messages that have already been there, questions and answers, and find a whole lot of information on the software. Our manuals, our software support. Anytime that you have any software support issues, all you need to do is click right here and it will take you automatically to our help desk so you can leave a ticket so you can get some help. Our lessons from the master videos. Of course, this is our master, Walter Floriani. Our facts, our stabilizers and threads, and we have a new tab here. It's called Need Digitizing Help. This is an actual digitizing service. So if you have a logo or you have something that you do not want to take the time to digitize yourself, you can click on this and go to the website that allows you to be able to send in your own artwork and have someone else digitize it for you for a nominal fee. We have put that on here because a lot of times we have people that need something done very quickly and they don't necessarily have the time to go through and digitize it themselves. So we have added that now as a link on our My Floriani Today screen. Create a new design at the bottom here is just that if you want to start and create a new design. If you want to open a design, you can select the Open a Design icon. This will allow you to open a design anywhere in your software, on an external drive, on a thumb drive, on a CD. And Open Recently Used, anybody that has been following our classes realizes this is one of my favorite tabs because a lot of times I'll be working on a design, close it down, and forget where I left it in my computer. So by this, clicking on this, it will bring up the last design I was working on. We are going to create a new design today. So left mouse click on Create a New Design. Now the first thing I always do is I make my workspace work for me. Now this is our workspace. We have our toolbars, we have our menu bar, we have our design area, we have our properties box, and we have our sequence view. The first thing I like to do is I always set up my grid system so it works for me. The first question I always have is, today am I going to work in metric or inches? Well, today we're actually going to switch back and forth. But we're going to start out in inches, so I want you to take your cursor and along your top ruler bar or your side ruler bar, right mouse click. Now I call it right mouse clicking for treasure because when you right mouse click, you always get some extra options that we can play with that are very convenient and handy with just a right mouse click. Well, I want to work in inches, so you can see that is already selected, so that's great. Now I also want to set my grid settings, so we're going to left mouse click on grid settings. That allows me to set the size of the squares on my grid. I want to work with a 1/4 of an inch grid system today, so I will type in 0.25. I'm going to leave my Maintain Aspect Ratio box selected, which means I have a 1/4 inch grid system both vertically and horizontally. I will say OK, and now I have my grid system up in front of me. We are going to create a baggage buddy. What it will do is it will snap around the handle of any of your luggage. And we're going to put an address in it. We're going to put a nice saying on it. And this way you'll be able to easily identify your luggage as it comes around the carousel during travel. Or if you're using the same type machine bag as a lot of your friends, you can just snap this around the handle and easily identify your bag. So let's get started. We're going to come up here and we're going to go to our artwork tool. We are going to left mouse click on the drop down menu and we are going to select rectangle. Now how do I know I have selected rectangle? Well, if you look, it's stuck to my cursor. It makes it very easy to identify which tool I'm using. Now by holding down my left mouse button and dragging, I am going to just draw a square. It doesn't matter the size. As soon as you let go, as you notice, it is now on the screen. Now this square is, since it's an artwork tool, it is not stitches. It's just as if we sketched on the screen. So I want you to come up to your left-hand toolbar. Your top tool is your select tool. Left mouse click on it, and you notice I get all my control handles around my square. I am going to go ahead and grab my square, and I'm just going to center it because I enjoy doing that. And you'll notice now that with it selected, in my properties box I have options. Well, I want to come and left mouse click on the transform because I need to change the size of this square. And what I do want is a square, and I want it 5 inches by 5 inches. So I'm going to need to deselect the Maintain Aspect Ratio, so it allows me to type in 5 and 5, and now I will apply this, and we will come up to our view, click left mouse click on the drop down arrow and say fit. We have now fit it to screen. This is a 5 by 5 inch square. I want you, with it selected now, to right mouse click. We will now go to convert, and I want you to convert it to a run stitch. So now I have a square that is a run stitch, and you notice right here, as soon as I converted it, it brought up in the properties my stitch type is a standard run. Now I want you to get your artwork tool again. Again, we're selecting rectangle. It's stuck to my cursor. I want you to come down to your color bar on the lower left-hand corner. I want you to put your cursor on color number 2 and right mouse click. So we have now selected red, and now we're going to draw just a rectangle at random. Again, we've held down our left mouse cursor and we've drug, and as soon as we let go, it has created our rectangle. Again, get your select tool. It's got all the control handles around it. And now I am going to come to my properties and go to transform. The width we want is 5 inches, and the height is going to be 1.5, so 1.5 inches. I will apply that, and now I've got a 1.5 by 5 inch rectangle. We're going to learn about the Align tool today. That's one of the tools we're focusing on, the features of our software. With your red rectangle selected, I want you to hold down your control key, and I want you to come over into your sequence view and go ahead and click on color number 1. Now you notice both colors are selected. A lot of times coming to the sequence view makes it much easier to select an object than clicking on the screen. with them both selected, I want you to right mouse click for treasure, and I want you to come on down to the word align. I want you to keep moving down till you get to center and left mouse click on center. Now if you notice, it centered our red rectangle within our blue square. So we have, this is now thirds. We've got a top, center, and bottom section. We're going to put our name, address, and phone number in our center section. So let's come on up to our text tool and left mouse click on it. And now just click on the screen. I want you in your little text box up here, I want you to type in your name. I'm going to type in Kathy Quinn. Now I'm going to hit the enter key on my keyboard so it will give me my next line of text. I am going to type in my address. I'm going to hit the enter key. I'm going to put in my city and state, my zip code. I'm going to push the enter key, and now I'm going to add in my phone number. Now that I have gotten all that done, I'm going to check my spelling, make sure I've got the correct phone number, and I am now going to, you see your little preview box that shows you the type of text you were using. I want you to left mouse click on the down arrow, and I want you to touch the letter T on your keyboard to get us into the T's because we want times. So I've selected the Times font. The height is going to be 0.25. I want this lettering 0.25, a quarter of an inch tall. Now the line spacing, it defaults at 25%. This is the spacing in between my name, address, city, phone number. But I want a little bit more spacing because I've got small lettering and I want it to be very clear. So I'm going to change this spacing to 32%. Once I've got my lettering, my height, my spacing, and my Times font, I am going to left mouse click on the word apply. And as you see, now my text has come up on my screen. I am going to left mouse click on the screen. I'm going to get my select tool. It's the top tool on my left hand toolbar, and I'm going to click on my text, and it has been selected. I am going to grab it, and you notice there's an X in the middle, and you can see I have a little hand. As soon as the hand comes up, it knows it's holding on to my text. And I'm going to bring it up, and I'm just going to drop that little black square into the center of my green circle, because that is the center. If you need to nudge your lettering just a hair, you can hold down your control key with your left hand and use the arrows on your keyboard to just move your lettering around, just nudging it. And then when I get it where I feel like I'm centered and I like where it is, I'm going to let go and I'm going to click off my lettering. So as you can see in the center section, I've got my name, address, phone number. And now in the top section, I want to go ahead and get my text tool again. I'm going to click up here and I'm going to type in adios. A-D-I-O-S. I'm going to come to my drop down box. I want to pick my Tango font. I'm going to leave the height at 0.79 inches, and I am going to apply that. There is adios, Spanish for goodbye, and I am going to again click off my design, get my select tool and select it. And I am going to grab this and I am going to also move it into the top section. I'm not real concerned about placement right now because I will adjust that in a few minutes. Now we've got adios, we've got our address. The next thing we need to do is we need to go ahead and we need to add in placement for our snaps. we are going to snap this around the handle of our luggage so it will hold on. Velcro is a little bit more difficult to embroider through, especially if the Velcro has an adhesive on the back. It tends to gum up our needles, and snaps generally hold a little bit better for something like this. So we are going to put snap placement because we want to make sure that our snaps line up. Again, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to get my artwork tool. So let's come to the artwork tool. I want you to left mouse click and select ellipse. Now, how do I know I have an ellipse? Why, it's stuck to my cursor. So if you hold your control key, hold it down, and then hold down your left mouse button and drag, as long as you're holding down your control key, you're going to get a perfect circle. So now that I have a circle, I'm going to select it. I'm also going to change the color. I'm going to come down to the bottom. I'm going to right mouse click on green, color number 3. And with it selected, I'm going to come over to the transform. Now I need this to be, I've got size 20 snaps, which are 12 millimeters across. So we are going to make sure that this circle is 12 millimeters, but we are in inches. So I want you to come up to your ruler bar, right mouse click on it and change it to metric. Go back to transform, and now we are going to change it to 12, both height and width, because it is a circle. Apply that, and now this is the size of our snap. Once I've done that, I want you to right mouse click on your circle, put your cursor on it, and I want you to convert this to a run stitch. These are merely going to be placement icons, but we need to stitch out so we make sure where our snaps are going to go. Now that I have got this, it's been converted to stitches, it's 12 millimeters, I want you to come up to Edit, and I want you to select Duplicate. Now the reason I've selected duplicate instead of copy and paste, when you copy and paste, it actually copies and pastes exactly on top of itself. And sometimes it's a little more difficult to make sure that we don't stack and get the same place to stitch out the same design 3 or 4 times in the same place because we didn't get it pulled off correctly. So I prefer duplicate in this instance. So I'm going to left mouse click on duplicate. Now, do not hold down your mouse button and drag. Just left mouse click. Left mouse click. Now I've got 3 across. I'm going to come straight down on the right hand side, because remember, we don't want jump stitches going all over the place here. I'm going to come straight down. I'm going to left mouse click. I'm going to left mouse click. And I'm going to left mouse click. And I have no idea what happened here. Okay, so I've got my left mouse clicking. I have somehow got some crazy little piece down here that I don't know where it came from. Nice to know what happens to all of us. So I'm just going to select it and delete it. And now I'm going to select this one that I created last and put him over here. Now if you notice, you'll see that our jump stitch is a nice progression. Now if you have a machine that trims your jump stitches automatically, you won't have any of these jump stitches. But we still have machines on the market. I own one of them that does not trim jump stitches, so we always want a nice progression. Now we need to align all these because you're going to snap this together, so we want one snap to be perfectly lined up with the other one. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to select my top left hand corner, and I'm just going to kind of put it in here, and I'm going to hold down my control key and select the one right beneath it. Now I'm going to right mouse click and tell it to align to the left. So now you can see they are in a perfect line with one another. I'm going to keep moving along here. We're going to get a little more refined in a minute. Whoops, grabbed the wrong thing. Let's grab the circle. And again, I'm going to grab mine down here. I'm going to move him over a little bit before I start. Holding my control key, and I am going to align to the left. And it doesn't matter if you picked left or right. It really doesn't matter. What matters is you get them aligned perfectly with one another. And we are going to align left. Okay, you can see we've lined all this up. Now I'm going to grab this one, and I'm going to move it over. This one, I'm moving them at the same time, so I'm not changing their alignment. And this one. And we're going to move stuff around and play a little bit just so you get real comfortable with our align tools. Now we're going to align. I'm going to select this one. So I'm holding down my control key and I've selected all three of them. And now I am going to align vertical centers. So now I've got them the same height all the way across. And again, I'm going to do the same along the bottom. I'm going to hold down my control key and select all of them. Right mouse click, align vertical centers. So now we're lined up, same distance from the top down, and the center, each of these centers are aligned with each other. So if I folded this over, I would know the snaps would match up. Now we need to know where the best place is to place these snaps along the top with our wording. And to know that, we have got to digitize a couple of other places on here. The first thing I want to do is select your red box. Come down in your color and select the red one. Now that it is highlighted, I want you to right mouse click on it, and I want you to convert it to a run stitch. Because remember, it's just artwork. Now that I've converted it to a run stitch, within that I also want to make it a bean, which means it'll be a triple stitch. The reason we're putting a triple stitch here, don't forget to apply it, left mouse click on apply, is because our little baggage buddy is going to fold right here and right here when it snaps, and we're going to use a product called Stitch and Shape in this, and I want to just compress it along these two lines so that it will fold easier. Now that we've done that, we also need to select our top square, our blue square. We could select it by either going to the sequence view or clicking on it. And now I am going to copy and paste. So we can edit, copy, edit, paste. With it still selected, I want you to come down and I want you to right mouse click on color number 4, which is orange. Now you notice in our sequence view, we've got our blue. We copied and pasted and created another one and made it orange. So now I have two squares stitching on top of each other. The first one is placement. The orange square is going to be our finish stitch. So now with it still selected, we're going to right mouse click and we are going to convert it to a steel stitch. This is a satin stitch. Once it has generated the stitches, we're going to do two things. The first one is we're going to change the width to 4.0 millimeters. I want it a little bit wider. And on my inset, I want to make it 75%. Now it's set at 50, which means what happens is a line stitches down across, and then the satin stitch zigzags across it, and that line is exactly in the center. So the stitches are 50% on the outside and the inside when that satin stitch is over. I want it more to the inside because if I'm going to err in this project at all, I want to make sure it grabs more of the stitch and shape with the fabric on it than stitching out into the air. So I've pulled it in a little more. So now instead of that center line being in the center, it's actually come in 3/4 of the way, 75%. So now that I've got my stitch width and my 75%, when you hit apply, watch what your satin stitch does. It's going to take a couple seconds to generate. And see how it's scooted in, but it's still along the edge? So that way I know that I don't have to worry about it not quite grabbing in places if we don't put our piece of fabric down absolutely perfect. This ensures a good stitch on the edge. Okay, now that I've done that, I know exactly how this is going to finish. So now I can select my green circles. Holding down your control key, I want you to select them all, and what we're going to do is we are going to select all 6 of them, and I'm going to scoot them up a little bit. I don't want them touching the satin stitch, but I do want them closer, and I want to make sure that we're pretty well centered. And that looks pretty good right there. And I'm holding my control key, using my arrow keys. So now that I've got those in the place I want them at the top, remember these are 1/4 inch grid squares. So this would be 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 3/4. I need these 3 bottom circles. I need to move them up so that the center of this circle is about 3/4 down because of the way this needs to fold. So I'm going to scoot it up, and as you notice, I've got 1/4, 1/2, and 3/4. So I know that this is where I want it. So we're good there. So now we're lined up this way. You notice these are all resting along this line. We know that these centers are lined up because we aligned them. Now we just have to think of our stitch out. Okay, the first thing I want to do is I want to run. We're going to look at our slow redraw. I want you to go to View, Slow Redraw. The first thing that's happening is I need a placement line. So there it is. Okay, now I've got a problem because it's doing my finish stitch. So I'm going to stop this right now. So I already know I'm stitching out in the wrong order. So what do I want to do? Well, this is my placement. Now I actually need the orange to stitch out last. So I'm going to come to my sequence view, select it. While holding down my left mouse button, I'm going to drag it and drop it at the bottom. So now I've got my placement line stitching, which is my blue. Then I've got my red line stitching, that's my triple stitch. But you know, I don't want it next either because I have to put fabric on the back of this. So the next thing I want to stitch out would be my lettering. So I am going to left mouse click on my lettering, and I'm going to drag it up and drop it. Now it is the same color as my blue stitch out line. Will that be a problem for us? Well, it could be. So let's come here, and if you notice, when I dropped that, it gave me 3 subheadings. I'm going to hit my little negative sign. You see, here's my color blue. So everything on my screen that's blue that got put together is stitching. So it's going to stitch the square, then it's going to stitch lettering. Now if I want to see what order that's stitching in, I merely left mouse click on the plus, and you can see the first thing that's going to happen is that run stitch. See how it highlighted? The next thing that's going to stitch is my name. And the next thing that's stitching under that color is our word adios. So if I don't want them all to stitch without a pause, because I need it to stop after that blue placement stitch, I'm going to go ahead and select my run stitch, and I'm going to come down to my color bar, and I'm going to change it to yellow. I'm going to right mouse click on yellow. So now you see we have got a yellow square, we have our blue text, then we have our triple stitch, which is the red right here. Then it's going to stitch out the placement for my snaps, and then it's going to do our finish stitch. So actually how this is going to work, let's go to View, let's go to Slow Redraw, and let's tell it to draw. And I'm going to slow it way down. Okay, it's going to put down my placement stitch, so this is going to stitch onto my stabilizer. We're going to use Wet and Gone Tacky. So it's going to stitch onto my stabilizer, and then the machine is actually going to stop. So I'm going to lay my fabric down. Now we're going to speed it up. Now what's going to happen is all my lettering is going to stitch out. So it's going to go through doing our lettering. Now we don't want to wait and watch the whole time, so I'll just drag it, because I can hold it with my left mouse cursor and drag this bar. So now that it's done that, it's going to stop at the end of the blue. I'm going to take my hoop off the machine and put my fabric on the back. Once I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and let it stitch the red, and it's going to do our nice little triple stitch, put in our placement, and now it's finishing up our little baggage buddy. You can see how nicely that's going to be done. And slow redraw allows us to think through anything that we're stitching out and make sure it's stitching out in the right order. Now that we've done this, this is our base. We might want to do several of these, but we might not want them to all be the same. So we're going to File, and I'm going to Save As, and I always recommend you save everything you do first in our native format, which is C2S, and we are going to go ahead and save it in our Designs folder, and I'm going to actually create a new folder for this. So as I've got Save As, you can see I have created a new folder. I'm going to left mouse click on that, and I'm going to name this folder Baggage Buddies. And now I'm going to open this folder and save. And I will name this Adios. And I'm going to save it. Now that I have saved it, and I could save it in absolutely any format I wanted to save it in, we could come up here and Save As. See, what machine are you stitching on? Well, let's say we're going to stitch, I'm going to stitch it out on a Bernina. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to save it EXP. Save it. I could save it as a Pez if I was going to stitch out on my brother. Now that I've done that, I want to do some different stuff. I want to change this. I don't want it to all of them to say adios. Maybe I want this one to say adieu. Now that I've got that, let's go ahead, and you notice I can still go and change everything in here. So let's go and change this, and I want to change this to, and I'm going to push the S on my keyboard. Well, no, I'm not. I'm going to come up here and get Simple Script. Simp CSR. Now that I've done that, we're still in millimeters. So let's go back to inches, because I've been working in inches with my lettering. So I'm back in inches, and I'm going to go to my Simple Script, and I have a problem. Let me apply this, and I'll show you what it does. Apply. Now, well, I lost my Simple Script. Isn't it nice to know you're not the only ones that it happens to? Let's try it again. Apply it. There it is. Okay, now that I've got my Simple Script, you notice that it doesn't meet. So I could come in here and I could actually get my text tool and I could move all these letters individually if I wanted to scoot them in by grabbing the kerning icon and moving. But there's a much easier way to do this. See where it says space? Now that is the actual space between these letters. This alphabet is digitized so that it's got this little spacing. But it's a script alphabet. I would like it to look like it's being stitched out in one continuous flowing motion. So I need them closer together. So I can also use negative numbers. So I'm going to come in here, hit my minus, and I'm going to put 5. -5 millimeters. And I'm going to apply that. And I want you to notice it pulled it all in. I like how it looks there. I could even pull it in closer if I wanted to. Now I'm going to select the lettering. I'm going to go ahead and center it, make it look nice with my, so it doesn't run over my snaps, where I've got my snap placement. Put it in, and now I have changed this to say adieu. Now I could come in here and I could save as, and again I would give it that name. I would save it. I can save it in any format, and we could put any kind of a saying we wanted on here, but remember, you're keeping your same base. You could even change the name in here. So realize once you've digitized this, you can create several different tags for different pieces of luggage, different friends, different sayings. I'm going to change this to say here, whoops, see if I can do this, here I am. Okay, so I've changed the lettering. I am going to change this to handle, the handle font. I'm also going to change the height because it's going to be a little bit tall. So I've changed it to handle. I've changed the height to 0.70 inches, and I'm going to apply that. So I could put it here. Now the reason that I've got some kind of saying up here on top is that when we fold this and snap it, your name is actually going to be underneath the handle on your luggage. Now you can put the name on top if you prefer, but this way you can see your luggage, easy, find it, get it without everybody necessarily seeing your personal information. But if the unfortunate, your luggage happens to get lost, then when you tell the airlines, you can tell them my name is, all you have to do is unsnap it and you can see my name. So you have all your information. And again, I would just file, save as, and save it in whatever format I needed for my machine. Let's save it as a PEZ. And I would change it to say here I am. So you can put a single name over here, you can put a saying, anything you like. It's all personal preference, and of course your fabrics and everything can determine how you want your baggage buddy to look. I prefer a high contrast because my biggest problem is finding the bag on the carousel as it comes around. This is this month's project. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I look forward to the construction part, which will be coming up next. Thank you so much. Have a good day, and thanks for having Floriani.